man, I don't even know how to start this. It's weird. It's different having a conversation when you know you're being filmed.
It always is.
It always is different. Yeah. But I mean, I still wanted to do it this way because I still feel like just talking to a camera is still like, it's even less disingenuous than sitting here talking to each other with a camera. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
But yeah, no, I think it'll work because you're right. Like talking to the camera always like puts it in a different. Like having a camera in a room just does something.
Yeah, it's but you know it's
when you're not talking to the camera,
it has to be in some sense it has to be performative. But I'm trying to like cut back on that.
Yeah.
As much as possible. But we can address the camera just to let them know what this is all about.
Sure.
So this is really off the cuff, as you can tell. We're not putting any sort of like title slides into this or anything. The whole point of this is to just talk about what's been going on. We haven't been active. We haven't been posting. We haven't been creating any new content. And a lot of that is because of...
the end of the world.
Yeah. just how crazy everything has been for the first half of this year. And there's a lot of things that, we want to talk about just like personally, how it's affected our personal lives. And then there's also a lot we want to talk about, culturally.
Right. And in the past, when it comes to like doing something like this and like trying to, keep up on social media and post things, and like we've done things on the past and videos like explaining just like what we're doing and like what we're trying to do with the media company. But like what I wish like everybody could see is like the conversation we had on our walk the other day.
Right, exactly.
So how do you do that? Like how do you get people into that conversation? This is about as close as you can get. I like the idea of this not only being a conversation between me and you, but also opening the conversation to creatives in this time, because it's like I feel like when with the shutdown, everybody like we're not working as much, and that like everything just changed so fast. And then the question of like, where do content creators belong?
Yeah, well, there's a huge shift that had to happen, right? Yeah. Because especially like, so for example, our main upload that we would put up all the time was our vlog. Mm-hmm. And it became increasingly difficult to figure out what to vlog when for the first entire year of the vlog, we were constantly working. We were shooting music videos, or doing photo shoots, or whatever the case may be, or traveling. We had a whole tour lined up last year that we got a whole bunch of content from. And then our biggest goal for the year of 2020, your biggest goal
was to do more travel and to travel do events.
It was, so your two biggest goals were you wanted to travel more, mm-hmm. and you wanted to host like Broke Boy events, like whether they were like art installations or just like networking events or whatever the case may be,
which are the
two things you cannot do with COVID-19. And then for me, like one of my personal goals was I wanted to shoot at least one new music video a month, because we were shooting a lot last year, but it was kind of, the consistency was sometimes we'd shoot like 4 within a month, and then sometimes we'd shoot maybe only 1, or we might go a month without shooting. And I wanted to just kind of have that consistency of at least one new music video a month. But then when all this happened, and then now there's the social distancing, now there's, on top of that, a lot of people aren't working. So, they can't necessarily afford to pump money into a music video when there's so many other things to worry about. So that, that cut back on how much work we were able to get. So now we're not working with that stuff. So now what do we vlog? So it was a ripple effect into everything else. And we kind of, at least, I went into a place where I was like, man, I don't even know what to put up on Broke Boy anymore.
I just, and like I'm lucky to have a lot of friends that are creative and to be able to talk. But like, again, like at the beginning, there's I think one of the at the beginning it was great when you got to catch up with a bunch of people because like we're just at home all the time, but
it also felt a little bit like a break.
It did.
Like at first, like even though we knew it was super serious, it felt like, man, I almost got to take a breather for a second. Everything wasn't so go all the time.
Yeah, but then the weird thing is like we go into the shutdown and the quarantines or whatever, and then like I was catching up with people, but it was like the thing that got so tired after a while is like, yeah, I'm catching up with somebody who I haven't talked to in a year, and like we're gonna get to talk about creative stuff. But what's the first thing you have to talk about?
Yeah.
Coronavirus. Like, oh, are you working? This, that, and the other. And then with the same thing with like the content that I take in, the first couple of weeks of shutdown, everything is about coronavirus and COVID-19. And then
which of course it's gonna be,
right,
because
exactly.
you have to address it.
And now it's like I'm trying to figure out if you didn't jump right on that, like as far as like a creative where this is the first time like where creatives like there was a very unified like everybody's gonna be making stuff and trying to do something that hopefully impacts in a positive way what we're going through now, because it's just a prominent it was just a prominent issue at the time, but then you get to like now and it's just like weird. We're like kind of going back
April, May, June, July. We're 4 months into this.
Yeah, and it's like we're kind of going back, but nobody really knows what's going on. And then in the middle of all this, then you have the Black Lives Matter movement, which now a lot of content is going to that.
Oh, and we'll get there because that's a whole
and so
that's a whole
like,
conversation.
The whole question, the question that's like been really hard to answer is, and like really hard to figure out for me personally is like, what as a creative do you like? One is like my responsibility and what am I supposed to be doing right now, and then also, but like at the same time, it's like, dude, I just like have been too stressed out to be creative.
Same. Like my creativity in general has taken a huge hit. You know what I mean? Like I honestly, it's weird because like you have all this free time all of a sudden, right? And I saw this post, which I told you about the other day, that put it into perspective in like the best way possible, which was it said something like, I need to use this free time to be productive because I'll never have this much free time again. Or I need to use this free time to relax because I'll never have this much free time again.
Right, yeah.
And I'm constantly torn between the two and don't know where to go with it. And most people don't, man. It's like it's so weird and unprecedented of like I've never seen in my lifetime. Like just I can't even go see a movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
that's like when so like I wanted to, like, if there's ever anything that like I can say that could impact somebody's day, I've always felt that it was my responsibility to do that. So like I know, like, like if I had a lot of positive energy, I would just try to put it on social, just so like maybe one of my friends will see the positive energy today and feel good about it. And
it's almost like with great power.
Yeah,
no, I get you.
And that's how I've always felt about that. And so like that's why like I really liked this idea when you're like, well, let's just try to have a conversation and just record it.
And the thing is, I know this is going to end up being a lot of brain stew. Like, it's just going to be a lot of rambling and unconnected thoughts. But
I'd like to. The reason that I was like, this is a good idea, and like the reason I really want to do this was because I would love to see just one of the other creatives do something. Just talk about and kind of
an unfiltered
discussion, yeah. Which there are definitely some that do, but yeah, I'd like to encourage more of like the people in like our sphere to like, let's just start talking and having conversations and just connecting. I think that the best thing about creativity is like connecting. So,
well, like, okay, so for example, just talking about how like creativity's taken a hit from COVID-19 is like, so our buddy George, he's rapper in Mass Attack. I had a really long conversation with him about how, because like I make music, you know what I mean? Like I don't do it publicly right now because I don't have like a project. I was in a band for a while, made music, put it out, and now I'm kind of just, I make
R.I.P. to Detour North.
R.I.P. Detour North. But now I do it for myself. Like I just make music for myself, and then maybe one day if I ever feel like, you know what, I've made enough music that I am confident enough to put out there, then maybe I'll do that. But as of right now, I just kind of, I just do it for myself. I write, play guitar, whatever, and whatever I make. But it's just for me. But even regardless of that, I was talking to George about, like, the ability to write lyrics. And I have not been able to, like, I haven't been able to write lyrics that I'm happy with in months. And the reason I think that is because there's so much going on right now with COVID, with the Black Lives Matter movement, just with everything, that if I was going to write about anything, I would need to write I feel like I should address what's going on in the world. But then at the same time, it's like, one, is it my place to say anything? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's going to care about what I have to say about it? You know what I mean? It's not necessarily my battle to fight or my thing to speak up about. And I feel like maybe I should leave that to the more qualified people. So then I'm like, okay, well, if I'm not going to talk about the things going on in the world, then let me talk about my personal struggles. But then at the same time, it's like, well, why would I talk about that? Because with everything going on, who cares about my personal struggles? I don't even care about my personal struggles with everything going on. So it's like, what do you write about?
Yeah, it's been.
And then you're stuck in the house all day.
Yeah.
You're not when you're in your apartment for months on end, you're not out living life, experiencing things. What do you have to draw from? Now that's my example for me lyrically, but like any creative endeavor that anybody's doing, I feel like they're probably experiencing the same sort of dilemma, where it's like whether you're an artist or a filmmaker or a musician or whatever you do, I feel like everybody who's struggling with what to do and how to be creative right now is probably grappling with that same kind of feeling. Like, what do you draw from, and how do you what, I don't know. It's just difficult.
Yeah, and that's. I think again, I keep going back to like the overarching question of just like, as a creative specifically, like, where do I belong? Where do we belong? And what needs to come from creatives in this time, And when you have so much just like stressful situations, I think that a lot of creativity will come from it. But it's like during in the moment, it's like you can't tell which way is up, and you don't and it's hard to just settle on anything and figure out just what to do. When this year just in general was just like we were talking about, just like us personally, was just kind of really weird.
We haven't even touched on that. Holy shit. Okay, so literally the biggest thing that should have happened to us this year
was moving in together.
Was that we moved
dwarfs in comparison.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, we moved out of our parents' places. We got an apartment together and a couple of other roommates. And so you and I live together now, which
we never
theory,
adjusted to that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in a vlog once, I think. Which in theory should have been like, man, we're going to be as productive as ever. We're going to be making things all the time, which was the plan. But then, like, literally, with the move, with trying to find a place, moving into the place, getting settled, I mean, that was like at least a month-long process in and of itself. And by the time, and then we move in, we're just getting settled, so of course, our our attention to creativity was going to be lower because we have other things that we need to worry about. But then once, we were like, once we get settled, we'll get back into a rhythm. Within 2 weeks of moving into this new apartment was when everything just went to shit. That's when that was when everything shut down. And it was just because, like, we never even got a chance to get settled into our new place.
We've lived here for now like almost half a year, like 4 or 5 months.
We've been here for 4 months.
Yeah, and like we just now kind of like started addressing like little things, like as far as working creatively together that we should have like gotten to when we first moved in.
Which we would have.
Yeah, but we just never got the chance to. But like the idea of moving in with your creative partner and business partner sounds great on paper, but then there's things like to work through, like we were talking the other day, like, well, the reason we probably were so much more productive was because we both had to figure out which physical location we were both going to be in,
and then we had a limited amount of time.
Time, and then now you like, it's just like kind of, it's really easy to be passive because we live with each other, and it's like, oh well, like we got to work on that thing, but I live with Emmanuel. I'll talk to him in a couple hours.
Yeah. But then
it just never
there would have. But here's the thing: there could have been a workaround for that. Like,
right?
We could have been. We could have been like, hey, if we're having trouble being motivated in our own living space, it's like, well, let's go to a coffee shop.
Right.
Let's meet at a coffee shop, sit there for 2 hours and work.
Yeah.
We can't do that now. You can't go and sit anywhere because you can't be around people.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is partly a discipline thing. Obviously you need to keep yourself accountable, and you got to work with what you have. So obviously not that any of these things are excuses, but at the same time, there are also like, it goes back to what I was saying about creatively. Like, there's worldly things going on right now where it's like, I'm not worried about making a vlog this week. Right. You know what I mean? Because I'm worried about people getting murdered in the streets. How can I focus on a stupid little video for YouTube? You know? Yeah. So it's not even just a motivation or a self-discipline thing. It's also just like it's just being conscious of just all the craziness how do you focus on something that in comparison seems so insignificant? Even if it is important to me and it's something I want to do, I mean, how do you focus?
I don't know. And me personally, like during, like, with everything that's going on, like as a Black creative, it's been really hard to figure out like what I'm supposed to do. And the scary thing is, like, you get into some parts of Twitter and it's like, oh man, I really feel like I'm supposed to like have all the answers.
So let's talk about that, because this is something too that we talked about. So like, with the Black Lives Matter movement, with the murder of George Floyd,
and the protests that are still going on,
the protests that are still going on, with everything going on as far as race relations in this country, and I don't want to get too much into like the politics of it, but just more so on like an individual level. There was definitely this idea that creators or influencers or whatever, which we're not influencers by any stretch, but there was this expectation for anybody who was like in the creative space to use their platform, to speak on it, which, if we're being honest, like, we as Broke Boy Media, we didn't say anything about it. Now, we definitely did on our personal channels. You did, like, you tweeted about it, you posted about it, and I did the same on our personal platforms. But as far as using Broke Boy Media, like our YouTube channel or our Twitter or whatever, which part of it, I mean, we didn't say anything. But now part of it is because I felt like, we don't even have that huge of a following, so what would be the... I actually would probably reach more people on my personal profiles.
Same people.
Right, yeah, and the same people.
And that was like, well, me personally, like, that was something that I struggled with
like
that.
Do you feel like we had a responsibility to say something? Should we have said something, or what?
Well, so as a Black creative and with a media company, I was constantly questioning that every day. Like, am I supposed to do something? Because I was, I'm very vocal on my my other personal socials, and I was it's a question I ask every day. But at this, at the same time, at that current moment, I was dealing with just like, we're all dealing with depression and anxiety and things like that, just like in general surrounding the pandemic.
Right.
And then the Black Lives Matter movement also just.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but like we've talked about this. Like it was like as soon as you started to. It was like as soon as we started to come to terms with the pandemic and start to settle into, okay, life is different now. This is we have a new routine. We have to approach things differently. And as soon as it was like you barely got a chance to become accommodated to that lifestyle, and then this all happens.
Yeah,
like,
and then when during the first week of protests, so again, you try to take it day by day, and I'm definitely someone who just always wants to constantly move forward. Definitely try to get through the bad days, but that was a really rough week because was still just getting knocked around. Me personally dealing with stuff. Then the protests start happening, and obviously that's something that's the whole Black Lives Matter movement is something that hits very close to home. It's my life. And but then at the same time, I was in this place as a creative and as a individual where I was just not really capable of doing anything. It felt like, and that's what was even more frustrating because it's like, man, like we're building a platform with Broke Boy, and I was like, and in building that, I'm like, man, that's something that like I should be using to have an impact.
Especially that, I mean, we're minority led.
Right. Yeah, and I wish that like more people would talk about like, some of like there are just times in your life where like you're just down, and again, like, I mean, I don't feel like I was lost as an individual. With as far as Broke Boy, my one disappointment is like I had a tool that I could have made more use of, but that tool is also only as good as the person using it. And then these times I've been really struggling creatively.
Oh, they're doing construction outside.
Oh.
And then again, like when we're talking about using Broke Boy as a tool maybe to further this message, again at the same time we were like, it's not like we have a huge audience. We don't have millions of subscribers or even thousands or whatever. We've got a couple hundred, and you know what I mean, and some followers. We know that there are people who follow us, but like I'm gonna reach all those same people on my personal platforms too. I'm gonna probably even be able to reach beyond that to people who don't follow what I do with Broke Boy. And so I almost felt like, was it even something worth addressing? Like what difference would it have made?
Like, well, personally, like, and again, like, I don't think I was in the place to do anything.
Right.
Like, just like we're just developing this into, what it's gonna be and what we want to do with it, and really, I'm just taking it as a lesson. Had we just had a healthy creative company that was just strong. I mean, we're young in this company. Like, it's just,
that's what I'm saying.
We're just like this company, like, and the
us
whole
throwing
idea.
our little 2 cents in.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
It's like it's a kid, but yeah, definitely, like, through that, like, my takeaway was like, I definitely want to get to a point where, as these issues go forward, and as like it gets to a point where it's like, just without hesitation, like, we know what we're gonna do. Like, as far as deploying, because like, I mean, I know what I'm gonna, like, us and all the people around us, we all know where we stand on issues. Like, that's not even part of the conversation. It's just like, what do you do? Well, like, what
communicate?
What do you do?
And so,
communicate?
And that brings me to my next point, which is like something that people may not even know or realize, which they don't need to, but like we were part of helping to organize a protest in our town.
Mm-hmm.
And we protested, and we were out there. There's photos of it. That another one of our friend Danny was out taking photos for us. We were taking photos of the whole protest, and that was something where it was like, man, we were a part of helping to organize that. We helped put it together. We pulled it off, and we protested and made a statement in our town. I didn't post any of those pictures on my social media. I didn't record, like, I recorded video, but like I didn't put it anywhere. I have it for me. I didn't we didn't upload anything, any of that to Broke Boy and any of the Broke Boy platforms. And because part of me was like, I'm not, when we did that protest, it was like, I'm not doing it for clout. I'm not doing it to be performative. I'm not doing this for my Instagram. So like, but then I'm grappling with it, because it's like, man, should I have put it on my Instagram? Because it's like, does that give it a louder voice and inspire somebody else? But at the same time, it's like, but I'm not doing it to have, I didn't do that to have content.
Right.
I did it because it was right. I did it because I believed in it, not because I wanted to have a video to put on my IGTV. So none of that footage is up anywhere. We didn't make a vlog out of it or anything. And so like, and then you grapple with that, because it's like, on one hand, you don't want to look performative. We didn't do that to be able to show people, look at us, look what we're doing. We did it because we felt compelled to do it. But on the other hand, you think, man, at the same time, should you make a piece of content out of it to put out to show people what they could be doing?
Right. That's
it toes
like
the line.
The whole thing, like not even just with just this whole year in general. That is the question, like, where does content belong? Because we're
what
starting
are you responsible for communicating?
Because like we're building a company that like the bread and butter is content, and it's like where does that belong, and what do you do with it, and how do you actually use it to have an impact and a positive impact, and that's been the biggest struggle for me. Is like I just haven't been mentally healthy in the last
No, neither have I. I mean, I can't sleep
dealing with this, but it's like
I literally have insomnia. Like I can't sleep at night, and I'm part of that is just because that's something I've struggled with my entire life. But there's everything. It's not helping. Nothing is helping. Like it's just there's so much stress everywhere. But yeah, man, people know where you stand with the Black Lives Matter movement. People know where I stand with it. It's fairly common sense. Like, I mean, I don't want to get into.
It's like one of those things. It's like
I don't want to have to reiterate.
Yeah.
What everybody else has been saying. It's like either like yes, like Black Lives Matter. Like, and just there's no argument to that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into the politics of like defund the police, this and that. Like I have my opinions on it, but this isn't the conversation for that. But defund the police. But yeah, man, it's just like as an individual, it starts to toe the line between where do you as an individual and you as the person that you put out on the internet, where does one end and the other begin? And especially for people like us who put out a vlog or who make content or whatever, even if it is on the small scale in the baby stages that we're at, where does our personal life and the way that we deal with these personal issues, where does that end, and then where does the content begin, and at what point does that overlap, or should it overlap, or it's.
Yeah, I mean, like me personally, I'd like. My thought is like I hope that there's not a big difference in the two. There just is going to be just for. It's just like it's the same thing like we were talking about at the beginning. Like as soon as you put a camera in the room, like it's just almost impossible to like in the first and as you're getting started, it's like almost impossible just not feel some type of way when you know you're being.
Although I feel like we've done a pretty good job. I kind of
forgot
it was there
it's
for a
always
little
the
bit.
first, like it's always the first 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
like I've forgotten that it's there now. But yeah, like those are things that like just have they do have influences, psychological and subconscious influences on the way that you do things. And you know another thing is like it is important, I think, for people like us who like like we're building this, you know what I mean, like we're and we don't have anything yet to where it's like every decision we make is so huge and impactful.
Yeah,
so
I mean, we're actually fortunate,
right?
if you think about it in a way that I've seen a lot of.
But sorry to cut you off, but it's like it's but people don't really talk about. In this stage, I don't see a lot as many people talk about these things like responsibility as a content creator and what it is that we're supposed to be doing as creatives. A lot of times I feel like those people don't end up having those conversations until they have to.
Yeah.
and by then it's just kind of weird, but I definitely just want. My thing is like I already know what I want to do, and like I already know like what the messages are that I want to spread. It's just how. That's really what it comes down for me. It's just how, and then like, but also, it's hard to make practical conversations out of things that are very real when you're building a company and trying to do something creative. It's a very practical question. How do I do things and how do I do this effectively? But it's got very just not cut and dry issues, just like as far as motivation and as far as mental health and as far as relationships with the people you're working with. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those multifaceted things that it just doesn't boil down to, oh, you do this, you do A, B, and C. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's I know what it is that I want to do, and it's just trying to figure out how, and again, I think that this is the reason that when we were talking about this the other day, and you brought up this, just like, well, let's just have a conversation and maybe film it and share that. The reason I was like, yeah, that's a good idea, because it also is legitimately part of how, you know what I mean, like, mm-hmm. just as like,
yeah, it's a step to moving forward,
right? And like how are like us moving together as a company, like what we're going to be doing, and just just I mean all of it, man, and that's another thing that that's another reason that I was like, yeah, this would be cool to share, because this is everything. We're like, there's issues that we have to or there's things that have to be navigated, such as just on a very personal level. Mm-hmm. Me and you moving in together, how do we go about that? And then on a global level, how do we operate a business in a pandemic? And then on a social level, mm-hmm. How do we use our platforms to have an impact on things that matter to us? And those are conversations that just don't get had. So that's why I thought it's important, and that's why it was so important to me to include other creators that we know in this conversation. Because honestly, it's hard to do this, and it's hard. It's so much easier to just not have them, because guess what? We've been putting this conversation off for months. Yeah. Like, we just haven't talked. Yeah. And at
least not about anything.
Yeah, not anything
important.
Yeah, not anything substantial, and that came of no malintent.
Yeah, it's just neither one of us knew how to deal with anything.
Yeah, it just ends up. It's like, oh, guess what? I guess we're both fucking human beings. You know, it's and it's
which to kind of bring it to a final point, I think, is I want to close it out. Well, before we get there too, just because you were talking about like opening it up to other creatives, anybody who might still be watching this, I don't even know if people are going to watch this long into it.
Right. Yeah.
If you're still sticking with us, thank you. I hope that some of our rambling and gibberish made sense, or you connected with it in some way.
I hope that somebody can take something from it,
well,
or
that's what
give
I was gonna
something
say. If somebody's
to us.
that's literally what I was
Either
gonna
way.
say. If somebody's in a similar position in
Yeah.
whatever you do, I don't even care what it is that
Yeah.
you do. Like, hop in the comments or into our DMs or
Mhm.
whatever. Like, I want to talk to you guys, because I want to know how other people out there in a similar position are, how you guys are dealing with it, whether you're a rapper or in a band, or if you're a photographer. Man, I don't even care if you're a lawyer. Like, whatever it is that you do, I just want to know, how are you navigating this? How have you had to shift and pivot your business or your creativity into this new world? Which now brings me to our final point, which is to talk a little bit about how Broke Boy Media is going to shift, because we have to. We got to do.
Right,
we got to do something, because I don't want to not do things.
Right. Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday privately, but I know that we talked about the vlog becoming a little bit more experimental, because it's not going to be just behind the scenes of our shoots anymore, because those shoots aren't happening. And we talked about making other kinds of content, just trying different things that we've never done before outside of just music videos, vlogs. I mean, there was that point in time where we did like the film school video, which was pretty cool. We've talked about doing a couple more things like that, tutorial type stuff. We've talked about doing more like react type videos, where maybe we watch a scene and break it down, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, what are some things that you'd like to do or like to try? Because at this point, it's open season.
Yeah,
this is our channel. We can do whatever we want with this.
Yeah, we were already talking about this the other day, and like all those ideas that we were talking about, just basically, at the core for me, when we started this, the idea that it could just be a platform, and it's like one of those things. It's like, it just goes without saying that this is going to be for us, because we're doing it. Of course, like it's going to be for us, and like, of course, we're going to make use of the resources that we have with whatever we build. So that's just like by default always understood. It's a silent letter in the word, but for me, what I get really excited about is the idea that it could be a platform, or a network, or a conglomerate, or a collective of other creatives, and just ultimately just be bigger than ourselves as individuals. I'm always a big proponent of like, if you're just slightly interested in what somebody's doing, send them a DM. I send DMs to random people all the time. Sometimes it'll be based off of just like a post about that I think is 10 times more important now, because you're not going to be able to go to shows and networking events and things like that and have these interactions in person. But it's important that you keep up those relationships. It's not social media is not the best way to develop and maintain a relationship, but now
it's the only way right
now. It could be the only way, and it's the next best thing. So it's super important. So,
but back to my question.
Well, so I would like to, just using more I think of the social aspect of the platforms that we use is something that like I want to do going forward. Like we talked about doing more lives and stuff like that, and going to other creatives more, because like we're going to continue to do content, and like that's always an opportunity for somebody to interact with us and like talk to us. But I want to definitely make use of social, and like do the same thing that like I'm hoping that people do with our content, and engage with and interact with, and hopefully start conversations with, based off when we do something, which again, like us making content, that's again one of those things that's just defaults. It's just something that I know we'll always be doing. But then like for me going forward in this season, like doing that part, right? Like doing the being an active part of the creative community as well.
Gotcha. For me, as far as like the actual content itself that I want to see start happening on this channel, there's just going to be a lot more experimenting going on. Like, I think we're just going to try a lot of different things. I feel like last year we had a lot of structure to things, which made sense at the time. It was like, hey, we have a vlog that goes out every Friday, and in between those vlogs we're shooting music videos, and then the vlogs end up being the behind the scenes of the music videos, and then like once a month we have like a big music video premiere, and things were very structured, which made sense because of what we were doing at the time. But with how everything is so different now, I think we're going to see a lot of, I was using the word yesterday, destructuralization, or like just a de-emphasis on that structure of like of the type of videos that we're doing, because we can't do music videos for artists anymore. Like we can't really do that type of content where, especially with social distancing, if you have a band of people, there's bands that they haven't even seen each other, to be able to practice or anything because of social distancing. So we can't really go out and shoot music videos. So that's at this point in time, which was kind of our big thing. It was our main like bread and butter of content.
Right. Yeah.
Because even if the vlogs were like the main weekly thing, it was the music videos that got the vlogs. Right. It was so everything kind of flowed out of us being able to do music videos, kept us moving forward. And since that's kind of not an option right now, I just I think our content needs to get a lot more just experimental in terms of just like, hey, we're just gonna try a bunch of shit. We're gonna, if we have a cool idea for a video, we'll just shoot it, and then it might be a vlog, it might be its own, like, one cool thing that we did that we were talking about was at the cold open for one of the first vlog of this year.
Yeah, just more stuff like that.
We did like this cool little like zombie skit. That we did it for the vlog, and we were like, oh, this will be a fun way to open the vlog. And then it was so cool, and we got we got such good feedback on that I was like, man, we could have just uploaded that we could have put that out as its own little sketch or its own little video, and it probably would have done great. It didn't have to be a part of a vlog. So if we have like fun little ideas like that, we can just shoot them, like, and
short videos and short films and stuff like that. Definitely, that's all.
Short films, videos, breakdown videos or not necessarily like I don't like doing like react videos, because every time I hear react video, it's like, oh, I'm just sitting here laughing at this thing. But like more like actual breaking down how things are. More of like the is that a breakdown video? I don't know what you would call that. More an analysis perhaps.
Yeah,
but like stuff like that, like to do like scene analyses of like maybe pick a scene from a movie that like it really inspires you, and then we just sit down and talk about like what it is about that scene that makes it work. Just I don't know. I've got to and these are things we've talked about doing before, but like now we're kind of in a position where, well, we have to explore some of these other ideas, because the kind of typical route we were going last year just isn't going to work.
Right.
It's not going to happen with and that's nobody's fault. That's just that's Miss Rona's fault.
Miss Rona.
Miss Coronavirus. It is her fault. Yeah. So, so we're just gonna have to pivot. We don't even know exactly what that's gonna be yet. We'll see. We're just gonna try stuff. We're gonna put it out. We don't have a big enough audience to disappoint. So so we can do whatever we want.
Right. It's moving into an interesting time, like close of the summer, so it's kind of nice not having pressure, like nothing there, like how like the year normally has have like we're in technically the season, and then you go into a little bit of what's considered media in Chicago anyway, because it gets cold out here, a little bit of an off season with the winter, but like all those customs and just kind of patterns are just going to end up being so broken. So. We're just going to have to, we'll just navigate it however it makes sense to us in the moment. Which is, at the end of the day, that's what we should do regardless of a pandemic, whatever works, it works, Anyway, this is a lot of rambling, a lot of word vomit. But we wanted this to be off the cuff. I specifically did not want to script this, because I didn't want to be disingenuous. I mean, our entire brand, Broke Boy,
is
Right.
built on honesty. Like
Yeah.
it's something we've been saying from the beginning. It's like we're not here to front that we've
Mhm.
got the best gear or the best resources available to us. So we do what we can with what we got, and now's
Well,
kind of the moment where we have to do the best we can with what we got.
I mean, we have a whole tagline. You could have used the tag. We do what we can with what you have does not define what you can create.
Yeah, well,
we don't use that tagline often.
We don't. But the point of the matter is, our entire brand that we're trying to build is built on honesty.
Yeah.
So we wanted to just sit here and do this kind of off the cuff little discussion. It may be a lot of nonsensical rambling, but
this is what all of our business meetings look like. So.
It's at least honest.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing thoughts before we sign off here?
No, I just I keep saying it, but this is we didn't do this just so y'all could sit and watch us talk for 40 minutes.
Honestly, this is more for us than them.
Right. But also it's a conversation, so
yeah.
Anybody wants to open it up?
Yeah,
it is open.
Like I said, our DMs are open, whether it's one of us personally or the Broke Boy Media channel DM. Reach out to us if you're also struggling. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to not know what to do right now. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the one thing that I've just been thinking for myself is, like, no matter how, because eventually we're going to get through it, but, like, this is the one time where, like, however you do get through it, just don't look back and, like, don't have any type of judgment or regrets on how you decide to do it.
Or, I mean, however you have to deal with this is how you have to deal with it. Like, there's no right or wrong thing to do right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. That's it.
I guess we'll see you in the next video.
I guess we will see you in the next video, whatever that happens to be. Cool.
I don't know how to end these.
It's just gonna cut off here.
It's just...